Next, we'll visit with Eric Bruman, a high school art teacher who uses his creative skills to craft beautiful and realistic scenery for his HO Utah Belt layout.
Sometimes you need a deadline to get a job done. For Eric Bruman, his deadline was the Gateway 2001 National Model Railroad Association Convention in St. Louis. He wanted to open his new train room to visitors from all over the world.
Last time it had been here was in 1970, I believe, almost 30 years, so it doesn't come around that often. And I wanted to have something ready for it, and we moved a year and a half before the convention was supposed to be here. So it really gave me an incentive to get to work and get things done. I worked pretty much like a man possessed trying to get the thing built and up and running in a year and a half, basically.
Eric was no stranger to working hard on his HO scale Utah Belt layout. He had already spent 25 years working on it in his former home. Moving to a larger home was both a blessing and a curse.
I felt like I wanted to try to keep as much as I could of the old layout to speed the construction of the new layout. So we took out large parts of the old layout, the main yard and several big chunks of scenery, and moved it over here with a lot of difficulty. It was hard getting out of the old house, and it was tough getting in here. And then when we got in here, nothing fit the new track plan. So I had to pretty much scrap everything that was there and start from scratch. A lot of people told me not to do it, but I went ahead and did it anyway, and it was true that you really shouldn't try to move a layout unless it's designed to be moved to begin with.
With the new layout, Eric was able to accommodate a working interchange with a short line. The Southern San Pedro, which didn't run on his old layout, now makes runs to the town of El Vedo, which has several industries. The new Utah Belt runs a north-south route through the dramatic scenery of New Mexico. Eric likes to keep his line up to date and retires older engines and cars just as the working railroads do. And he purchases new additions based on what real railroads are adding to their rosters now. When it came time to recreate the classic New Mexico rockwork, Eric discovered something in his new backyard that would lead to an invention, something he calls hydroclay.
Having a new construction home, the lot to the north of us was actually eroding into our yard, so we had a lot of the clay that's around here in our yard, and I dug up a bucket of it, was using it for ground cover, and then by accident mixed some of it with the hydrocal, and as a result the hydrocal doesn't set as fast. It has a decent color to it now instead of just pure white, and it also takes longer to set up, and it makes it easier to carve and last longer. You'd think that putting something like dirt into the hydrocal would ruin it, but about a 50% mix of this particular clay. I don't think it's anything special, it's just local Missouri clay.
One of Eric's favorite activities is creating breathtaking scenery.
Backdrops on the layout are all hand painted. My training is in art. I'm an art teacher, so I have an advantage in that area. I'm able to paint whatever I need to for a backdrop, and with a narrow shelf-like type of layout like this, backdrops are pretty important. So most of them are done with oil paint because it dries slower and it's easier to manipulate, and I'd rather paint with that than acrylics.
Eric's career as a high school art teacher not only shows in his scenery, but in the tools he uses to create the layout scenery. He's added many new pine trees to the Utah Belt layout and makes them out of handles from discarded paintbrushes. His eye for detail has led him to develop unique techniques for creating both still and moving water scenes throughout the Utah Belt layout.
Well, there's three different ways that I do with water on the layout. The smooth water, this fairly still water, is done by painting different colors of blues and greens to indicate depth, and then covering it with a material called Envirotex. It's a two-part epoxy that hardens very clear and very smooth. For the rougher water, I use a material that's called polymer medium. It's a clear gloss polymer medium that dries clear. And then for the rapids, what I do is take a clear acrylic varnish and cotton. And the cotton stays white, and you can rough it up and make it look like rapids and waterfalls and things like that.
Right now, Eric is working on completing his hand-painted backdrops. An 8-foot section was saved from the old layout, and there are still yards of backdrop to go. But he did make his deadline for the Gateway Convention in 2003.
There was 8 over-the-road buses that came, so there was upwards of 400 people that came through the house during the convention. But it was really interesting. There was people from all over the world. There was people from Japan and Australia and Germany and England. And it was just really a once-in-a-lifetime experience.